the price of property increases also because of labor. So if there's a undersupply of skilled laborers, construction workers that are available to do the construction of these projects, then the labor cost will also have to go up. Hi guys, welcome back to the Property King. So for today's episode, we're going to discuss, is inflation bad for real estate? Okay, so I often get this question a lot, no? Especially by our investors, those who are starting up with real estate. They always ask me, what is the effect of inflation towards real estate? So before we answer this question, we need to define what inflation is. Basically, the prices of goods and services tends to go up, and at the same time, the purchasing power of the fiat or your money, in our case, in our country, the Philippine peso, goes down. Okay, so for example, to illustrate, let's say, for argument's sake, that a mocha frappuccino that's venti is 200 pesos. And then, that's the cost of that mocha frap for now, right? And then, let's say after 2 years, that same mocha frap increases in price and becomes 300 pesos already. In that example, that's what you call inflation, okay? Because the cost of the frappuccino went up to 300 pesos from 200 pesos, but the value of your money, that same 200 pesos, cannot purchase anymore one mocha frap, no, one venti mocha frap. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand that. So that was an example for inflation. Okay, so it's it's a general increase of prices of goods and services, and at the same time, the purchasing power of the peso goes down. So when it comes to real estate, what is the effect of inflation? Is it good or bad? Generally, as we all know, whenever prices of goods and services goes up, real estate in turn also goes up in price. Why? Because developers, whenever they launch new properties, new developments, they have to make money, right? They have to make a profit. And when the cost of goods and services, in order to build that condominium, to build that township development goes up, they also have to increase their prices. Otherwise, they would be incurring losses. So when that happens, it's what you call a cost push inflation. That's a type of inflation that pushes the prices to go up because the cost of producing that service or good, in this case, property, is also going up. So what are the reasons for that increases? Primarily, number one cause is the rising cost of energy, so fuel. Like, for example, what's happening in the war now in Russia and Ukraine, that has a big effect in terms of fuel prices because Russia is one of the major exporters of oil in the world, right? So in terms of supply, because that supply chain is being hampered because of the war, that has a trickle-down effect in terms of our economy as well. So of course, the prices of fuel will have to go up. So you experienced that in the past few months, right? We experienced fuel hike when it comes to our gasoline prices, diesel prices. So you can expect the same effect to real estate as well. Generally, that will have a cost push inflationary effect to the price of property. So another reason why the price of property increases also because of labor. So if there's a undersupply of skilled laborers, construction workers that are available to do the construction of these projects, then the labor cost will also have to go up. Another reason why we have inflation is because of the demand pool inflation. So this happens when the supply is lower than the demand. So for example, not just with property, let's say for a certain piece of art, okay, that's a rare collectible. If you have more buyers than the sellers, if you have more demand than the inventory, then a lot of people will be willing to pay higher just to get a piece of that collectible or that art, right? So the same is true again for real estate. So there was a time, especially when the pogos were here in the Philippines, then when they were very active, when they were coming in droves, in thousands. Okay, the demand for condominium in the metro, in the cities like BGC, Makati, Ortigas, even Alabang, even Quezon City was very high. So that drove the prices of rentals, of property in those areas to go up because the supply wasn't as much, okay, especially for the ready for occupancy units, okay. So that's another reason why we have an increase in prices in terms of inflation. So generally, if you're investing in real estate, it's actually a hedge against inflation. So what you need to note is the percentage of inflation year in, year out. Okay. Every month, it would tend to vary, but what's more important is you look at the grander scheme of things in terms of an annual basis, because it's really hard to keep up because it really goes up and down from month to month. So generally, for the past 3, 4, 5 years, you were experiencing around 3 to 4% inflation. So if you leave your money in the bank, you only earn like 1%, right? So if you leave your money in the bank, inflation is actually eating up the purchasing power of your peso. So let's say, for example, you earn 1% in the bank, which is already very high. And let's say that's all after taxes. If your inflation is 3%, you're actually down by 2%, right? Because you only earn 1% interest from the bank, and your money, that same amount of money is depreciating by 3% because of inflation. Okay? So the trick is to put your money into investments that would yield a higher return than your inflation. Okay? So in the case of real estate, if you're, let's say, for example, every year your annual growth rate is averaging at 8 to 10%, then you're in already a good territory for a profit. It's a good hedge already against inflation, because traditionally we're hovering around 3 to 4%. Okay. So to sum it all up, is inflation good for real estate or is it bad? Okay. The answer is it depends. If it's hyperinflation, wherein the inflation rate goes up to double digits, it's very high and it's in a consistent basis that would last for long periods of time, then I wouldn't say it's good for real estate. Even though the prices of the properties will go up, it will not be sustainable, okay? Because people won't be able to afford the increase, the huge spike in terms of prices. The market won't be able to absorb, the price, and that may, in turn cause a collapse in the housing market. So we don't want that. What we want is a steady inflation rate, a manageable rate, uh, ideally around 2 to 3%. I'm not an economist, so I'm not an expert on the subject matter, but in my opinion, around 2 to 3%, maybe at the most 4% is a manageable inflation rate, just to make sure that it hovers, that around that rate consistently, and we don't have, very huge spikes that would go up to, 6, 7, 10%, even double digits. Okay, so as long as it's manageable, that's okay. So that's inflation in a nutshell for you. So again, my answer is it depends. Okay, it's case-to-case basis. So guys, that's the end of our video. I hope you learned a lot. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to put it in the comment section down below. Send us an email at rk@propertyking.ph if you have longer inquiries, you really want to express it out. We'll answer it as soon as we can. So guys, please press the like button down below. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe icon and hit that bell icon so you're notified each time we upload new content such as this. So again, this is RK from Property King. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, let's all grow wealthy together. Goodbye.